At the time of recording this video, we're seeing an increasing number of extreme weather events that impact our daily lives. From fires in Los Angeles to hurricanes in the South ravaging entire communities, the need to be prepared is becoming a necessity. But if a major event happens in your community tomorrow, do you have a plan? If water services stop, would you know how to get water? If a disaster forces you out of your home, then what? Having a plan is more important than ever. And in this video, we're going to cover 7 practical things that can make a huge difference. Plus, at the end of the video, I'm going to show you an easy thing that you can do today that will remove the stress and anxiety when a disaster hits.
Download the Start Preparing Survival Guide to help you prepare for any disaster. I'll post a link in the description and comments section below, or visit cityprepping.com/get started for a free guide to help you get started on your journey of preparedness.
If you're new to this channel, my name is Chris, and on this channel we discuss emergency preparedness, aka prepping. Now, I purposely have made this video actionable and simple. With the recent disasters happening across the country, we've seen an influx of new members, and what we're going to cover in this video, it may seem very basic for some, and for those wanting to get serious about preparing and being able to take care of themselves and their family after a disaster, this video is for you. So let's go ahead and jump right into the video. Number 1, identify potential hazards. I always encourage people when they first get serious about preparing to really assess the most likely risks that you're going to face in your area. To do this, what you have to do is determine what type of disasters are most likely to occur in your area and learn how to prepare for each type. The steps that we're going to cover in this video will cover the majority of natural disasters that you'll likely face. For example, I live in Southern California, and it's an area that's prone to earthquakes and fires. So here's what I do to prepare. We keep masks and respirators on standby, as fires are very common in our area. We keep go bags ready to head out, and we'll talk about this more momentarily. We keep hundreds of gallons of water stored in our garage in 55-gallon water drums. And we do this because if we have an earthquake, water is likely going to be cut off. I'm recording this video on January 26th of 2025, and unfortunately, fire season is in full swing when it should not be. And these fires have already destroyed parts of LA and now are impacting other areas around us where I'm actually filming this video. And as I mentioned earlier, as a family, we have made plans should the fires impact our area, which we'll cover in this video. So how do you find out what your area is vulnerable to? We did a video a few years back that goes into great detail on this, and I'm going to post a link in the description and comment section below. And in that video, we also provide you with a free download risk assessment tool that allows you to think through various factors to ensure that you're covering all the bases. Lastly, I would encourage you to familiarize yourself with how your community shares emergency information. I grew up in East Texas, and we would have sirens that would go off when a tornado would come through. But in this era of apps and social media, we consume information much differently. Each region is different, but there's usually an app or social media platform that may be popular in your area where people can talk and connect. For example, where I live, we have an app called Watch Duty, and it's very popular. It allows me to see what fires are happening. Additionally, you can speak with your local fire department if you're unsure of available options. And you should also check to see if your community has a CERT, C-E-R-T program. I'm going to post a link to it below, as it's a great way to get involved with preparedness in your community. Number 2, get your family involved. Have a family meeting. And in that meeting, you need to discuss the importance of preparedness and review potential hazards. As with all things in life, it's how you communicate that matters. Are you communicating fear or just basic preparedness? For me, this lifestyle of preparedness is just making sure everyone in our family is safe and okay, and we have a plan if something were to happen. And we don't live in fear in our home, but we see the value of preparedness. Also, assign roles. You need to designate responsibilities for each family member during an emergency. For example, who's going to grab the emergency kit, get the pets, to ensure that everyone knows their role. I found that when my kids were younger, they loved knowing that their actions were important and appreciated being involved. If a disaster hits, you can move much faster if everyone can step in and help. Number 3, create communication and meeting plans. How many of us are all together all the time? The probability is that while going about your daily routine, kids are at school, you may be at work, you're just not all together. So if a disaster hits, you need to have a plan. We're going to cover a few concepts here, but don't worry. In this last step of the video, we're going to cover a simple thing that you can do to help ensure everyone has this information. The first thing is to have a communication plan. You need to establish how family members will connect with each other if separated. And we always assume that our phones may work, but cell services may be overloaded or just down during a disaster. Next, you need to designate an out-of-town contact who can help relay information. This is like having an operator outside of the area. Everyone can call them if you can't reach each other locally, and they can help make sure that everyone is on the same page. You need to define meeting places. You need to choose safe locations where your family can gather after an emergency, both near your home and outside your neighborhood in case evacuations are required. You need to designate a friend or a family member in the area that everyone in your family knows. And having the address and phone number of that residence written down somewhere will be important. Again, we're going to cover that in step 7. Number 4, develop an evacuation plan. How many of us assume we'll just head out and use our GPS to guide us? GPS, it has its advantages when it works, but depending on the type and severity of the disaster, it may not be available. This is why it's critical to define the evacuation routes from your home. Do this by planning ahead with a simple map. Be sure to have a local map of your area, not just a state or national map. And you can typically pick up these local maps of your city at your local AAA office. And on the map, you need to define alternative exit routes and where you're going to meet if everyone is split up. And after identifying these routes, drive them, ensuring that you know the area. When disasters come, people are going to jam the main exit routes. But if you know alternative routes in advance, you're not going to get stuck with everyone else. Personally, I have a 4-wheel drive vehicle for this very reason. Where I live, there are plenty of off-roading options. And I know my surrounding area, and if there were a major disaster, the main freeways would be plugged up. But I do have alternative options. Number 5, prepare a go bag. One of the things that we cover a lot in this channel is a go bag, aka bug out bag. But why a bag? A bag allows you to assemble critical gear, and it's always ready to go with the essentials. You can use something like a tote that you can throw in your car, which is perfectly fine. But with a bag, you have the advantage that if you have to walk, you can carry this on your person. For example, if you get stuck in traffic or there's some other reason that prevents you from moving forward in your vehicle, you can still easily carry the essential items with you. And we have a whole playlist for bug out bags here on the channel, which goes into a lot of detail, which I'll link to below. So what's in this bag? Well, it's really designed to sustain you for 3 days. And what do I mean by sustain? It depends on what scenario that you're preparing for. And as preppers, we view the bug out bag as keeping us alive for 3 days in adverse conditions, but we don't always expect to have a safe place to go. Maybe disaster overloads emergency systems, and you want to ensure that you have a plan and the necessary supplies to ensure that your family is well taken care of. And what we have in here, at a minimum, will keep us alive for 3 days. When you get serious about preparedness, it really comes down to 3 things. It's shelter, water, and food. And once these basics are established, you're going to still want additional supplies. How prepared you want to be, it's really a decision that you need to make. And I'm not going to run through all the details in this video. But I did do a video 4 months ago that breaks down these items into simple terms, which I'll link to below. The video is entitled 22 Survival Items to Get, and it lists the basic items that you'd want to have on hand. And after watching this video, I would highly recommend that you go and watch that video, as it gives you an excellent starting point of what you need to have to be ready to go. Let me just say that having a bag, it's not critical, but it does have advantages. If you don't want to spend money on a bag, you can also pick up totes like these at Home Depot for pretty cheap, and they're a great option as well to have these essential items stored and ready to go to make it easier to load into a vehicle. Now, one last note. I would encourage you to check your bags and totes on a regular basis. Review and update the kit every 4 to 6 months to replace expired items and to adjust supplies based on changing family needs. You're going to want to store it in a cool, dry place that's easy to access if you have to head out during a disaster. Number 6, practice your plan. You probably heard that saying, no plan survives first contact with the enemy, or as Mike Tyson so eloquently put it, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. We often assume that our plans are going to work perfectly, but it's not until we test them that we fully understand whether they're going to work or not. You can do this by running drills. If you're home, run a scenario where you're forced to evacuate. How would everyone respond? Get everyone loaded into the car with the important essential items that you want to take. How well did that go? How long did it take? Could you do it under 10 to 15 minutes? And you need to conduct on a regular basis these practice drills, or at least at a bare minimum twice a year, to ensure that everyone knows what to do in an emergency. And this includes practicing evacuation routes and communication procedures. You need to review and then revise after each drill and discuss what went well and what could be improved, making necessary adjustments to the plan as needed. One of the lessons that I've personally learned is that when you practice something, you gain confidence. And it's always the unknown that personally gets to me, and it leaves me wondering, what did I miss? Did I cover all the bases? And you can remove that doubt by simply practicing. Number 7, putting this in one place. Okay, so we've covered several things that you can do to get started in this video, but here's a simple thing I want to encourage you to do now. What is something that you always have on your person? For me, it's my phone and my wallet. What I want you to do is measure these items. In my phone case, I can carry a small piece of paper. If I were to take the cover off, I have an area back here where I could slide a small piece of paper into. Maybe in my wallet, I could take something the size of my credit card, a piece of paper that I laminate, and I can put that in here so I'll have that information here. What I want you to do, again, is measure these out and then take a piece of paper that's going to fit in either the phone or the wallet, and we're going to put important information on it, which we'll define in just a moment. Now, you can handwrite this important information. You can put this information in a Word doc and print it out, but the goal is to have critical information written down. I can't encourage you to do that enough. We've become so dependent on our electronic devices, but there's no guarantee that you can access the internet or phones. They could be broken or they could run out of electricity. And do you have every important piece of information, phone numbers and addresses memorized? Well, we want to make this as fail-safe as possible, especially think about being under stress and you may have a hard time just remembering this information. So think about what you want to have on it. If you were split up from your loved ones and a disaster were to hit, how do you make sure that everyone is safe and knows what to do? How will you communicate with each other and reconnect? And earlier we covered some of these considerations. Having an outside phone number that everyone can call, a family member or a friend, someone that you all know and trust. Next, detail where you want to go. And I want you to write that physical address on the piece of paper along with that phone number. And for an extra bonus, you can laminate these. Now, you may want to put pictures of family members on it just in case you get split up, especially if you have small children. And you can also buy these laminated sleeves on Amazon for a few bucks. They're pretty cheap. And what you'll do is you'll slide the piece of paper into it and you can seal this off. And I'm going to post a link to this down below if you want to check these out. Now, I know we've covered a lot in this video, and I'm going to put links to everything in the description and comment section below. Now what I want you to do is go check out 2 videos I'm going to put here on the side of the screen. One is 22 items to get now, and the other is top 10 threats that we're going to face in 2025. This will really help you in part of your assessing the threats that you need to prepare for. As always, stay safe out there.